Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Amy Brownell, and I am here live on YouTube every single Tuesday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific, to talk about all things CFO and advisory related. So, anything regarding advisory services, CFO, how to sell them, what they are, the whole 9 yards. We cover it all. So, today, what we're going to talk about is niches. So, what exactly a niche is? How do you pick one? Is it true that you have to pick one? We are going to dig into it because it is one of the questions that I get asked the very most. And it is actually something that keeps a lot of people from moving forward and starting their business. So, I want to get to the bottom of it. All right. So, as I said, I go live on YouTube every Tuesday, and I would really love it if you would go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you are made aware anytime I drop new content or when there's new videos. If you have a question, I want you to make sure that you post it in this in the comment section of this video. You can also connect with me on LinkedIn and YouTube. The links for those are in the description of this video. And you know what? Let's get into this. So I'm sure that you've often heard the riches are in the niches. So is that true? Well, kind of. Yes. So here's what I'm talking about when I say niche. For purposes of CFO and Advisory Academy, it typically refers to an industry, a group of people that you want to serve. So if you think about the definition of a niche, it is a segmented, specific group of people in a market. So whether that is restaurants or construction, it could be nonprofits and churches, it could be e-com and coaches, whatever that looks like. But it is a specific group that you want to work with within an industry. So what is the point of choosing a niche? Well, there are lots of points. So one of the big misconceptions that's out there, before I get into the points, one of the big misconceptions is, if I choose a niche, I'm really limiting my the number of people that would be interested in my service, which, if you look at it from that perspective, is true. You are limiting. But in this case, that's a good thing. That's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. We are going after a specific group of people to take part in our service because we want to be known as the expert. We want to be known as the go-to authority for construction businesses or for health and wellness businesses. Whatever that niche is, we want to be known as the expert. So that means knowing everything there is to know about that niche, what problems they experience, what their different revenue sources are, how they spend money, how they make money, the common problems that they have, the common solutions that help them. Having all of that information, because you are only touching one industry, think of how powerful all of that information is. You're able to very quickly identify and solve problems. So the first benefit of having a niche is being able to become known as that expert. And you know what happens when you're known as an expert? You start building credibility and trust. You're working with construction owner A, and he's with all of his buddies, and they're talking about all of the good things that he is experiencing with his CFO, and he recommends you to others. That is the best kind of referral you can give, that word of mouth. They're performing well for me. You should check them out. It just makes that easier. The second thing is that you're able to really, you're able to really form those deep client relationships and have loyalty. I mean, can you imagine that you are working with that construction client year after year, and you know everything that's happening in his business. You are friendly. You're able to, you know who's in his family, you know his wife's name, his kids' names, you know what big events are happening in their life. That fosters loyalty. I mean, if you are performing at a high level, like most CFOs are, you are able to not have to worry about selling that service year after year after year. It just is known that you're going to have that work for as long as you're able, as long as they're able, because you have that brand loyalty. Your clients know you, they like you, you're friendly. So this third one goes a little bit into why the whole competition thing exists. So when you have a niche, you have less competition. There are less people who are talking to, for example, construction business owners. There are less people who are talking to gyms. So as opposed to people who are trying to reach everybody, you know that saying, master of all trades, jack of all trades, master of none? Well, that's where this really applies. You can know a whole lot of things on a very surface level, or you can know one thing real deep, like know everything that there is to know about it. And that is one of the big benefits of having a niche. Does it reduce your target audience? Yeah, but it also makes you have to deal with less competition. It also enables you to create that really great marketing messaging that resonates with that specific kind of business owner. So think about, you see an ad on Facebook and it is talking about, let's say you're a construction business owner, and let's just say, for example, that this ad is there's an ad that's targeting construction business owners who haven't been able to pay themselves a salary because material costs have skyrocketed, for example. Well, if you are a construction business owner in that position, that ad is going to speak to you. It's really going to resonate. And that's exactly what we're looking for, as opposed to, I help construction business owners budget their money and plan for the future. True, all accurate, but very general. Like when you have a niche, you're able to really be able to talk directly to your target audience using language that they understand, using industry terms. So when they read it, they're like, oh yeah, they're talking to me. That's exactly what they mean. They're talking to me. And when you have that, it reduces your marketing costs, which who doesn't want lower marketing costs, especially if you're doing that outbound marketing where you are going out into the public and finding leads. So like things like Facebook ads, for example, Google ads. So you're able to really target exactly who you want. And because you're able to target exactly who you want, you're able to spend a lot less money. And that's great. All right. The next one is increased profits. So this is a big one, because when you are known as the expert in something, you get to charge higher fees. So think about it like this. If you are in some kind of accident, let's knock on some wood here because we don't want to be involved in an accident. But let's just say we're involved in an accident and we have a scar on the side of our face. Well, we could go to a general practitioner and they would probably be able to fix that scar easily enough. Alternatively, You can go to somebody who specializes in facial scars, someone who has a background in fixing these exact types of injuries. Now, both people can do it, but who are you going to trust with your face? I'm guessing you're going to trust that either cosmetic, that plastic surgeon, the one who has the experience. And that is why that plastic surgeon is able to charge so much more than a regular GP, because they have that knowledge and experience. They are known as the expert. Another reason that having a niche is so beneficial is that you're able to work more efficiently. So we know that there's different kinds of clients out there. There are e-com. When you have e-com, you're dealing with inventory. There's manufacturing, you're dealing with work in progress. There's service-based industries, there's restaurants. All of these have different aspects that you want to be looking at. And if you're looking at all of them and trying to be an expert in all of them, that could mean that you're going to be an expert at nothing. So being able to work efficiently, like that you are working with an e-com brand, and all of your e-com businesses, they all sell women's clothes, bada bing, bada boom, and a story. You're going to be able to do things like create a reporting package one time that every one of your clients is going to be able to use, because they're all going to want to look at the same information in the same way. They all have the same key performance indicators. They all have the same revenue sources and expense outliers. They're all dealing with inventory. So you're able to really take advantage of that economies of scale, really be able to work efficiently. You know what their problems are. That is so helpful. And then finally, there's a couple more. You can build a community of people with the same mindset in the same business, where you can draw on one another's opinions, and not that they're direct competitors, but maybe they're just slightly different. It's different selling women's shoes than it is selling women's tops. So, but both have information, knowledge that can benefit the other. So you're able to build a community. Obviously, your marketing is, like I said, much more effective, because you're able to target exactly who you're going after. And you're just able to work with better clients. I mean, can you imagine having your entire book of business being something like a bunch of different women's clothing retailers? You're able to just focus on this one thing, do it well, do it better than everyone else. That is the key. So there are a couple of caveats, maybe I'll say, as to choosing a niche. So there are two kinds of marketing possible. So there's inbound and outbound. Outbound, we just talked about. It is when you are going out and finding leads. So it's when you're doing Facebook ads, Google ads, typically the whole ad category. The other side is inbound marketing, and that is when people find you. So think about things like referrals or the Pro Advisor site. I know some of you are bookkeepers. B&I groups. There are things like when you're doing some stuff on LinkedIn and waiting for people to come to you. So there are inbound and outbound. And when you're doing inbound marketing, you don't really control what kind of business comes to you. It could be, you could have a niche of e-com, but maybe a church comes to you and you have no control. So you can either say, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and work with this church. I'm going to work with anyone. I know this is my niche, but I'm going to be okay working with this church. Now, the thing you have to think about here is when you're doing inbound marketing, that client, you don't necessarily have to keep them in your niche if you want to do outbound marketing. So there's a difference about how these people, not only how they reach you, but how you reach them. So like I said, with the inbound marketing, people are trying to find us. Well, as CFO advisors, it's becoming a bit easier, but historically it's been pretty difficult to find us. Like you go type something into Google, something like advisor, you get investment advisors. And so the inbound marketing took a little bit longer. It was a little bit more difficult. And so a lot of times you relied on outbound marketing, the ads, to find your clients, to find your leads. And when you do that, you can target specifically who you want to talk to. Now, what you can do is have a combination of both. When you're doing your outbound marketing, you can say, you know what, I'm just going to talk to coaching businesses, for example. But in all actuality, when people reach out to me, I'm going to take those clients too. When they do the inbound marketing, I'm going to accept those clients as well. So you can have two separate groups, which is really beneficial because you're utilizing the best of both worlds. You're utilizing the very targeted marketing and that messaging that really resonates. And you're also taking in some of those clients that really need help, but don't necessarily fall into your niche, but you're happy to accept them anyway. So you're able to take advantage of both sides. Now, let's talk about multiple niches. Can you have multiple niches? I've heard people ask this before. You absolutely can. So by having multiple niches, you can, for example, create really targeted marketing messaging that goes one outbound marketing messaging goes to e-com brands, and another one goes to maybe, instead of e-com brands, brick and mortar brands. So you're still dealing with retail, just one on the e-com side and one on the brick and mortar actual physical store side. So you can have different related niches. Absolutely. What makes a good niche? So there are a couple of things that I want you to keep in mind. The first is the size of the audience. We want to make sure that our niche isn't too big, too general. And we also want to make sure that it's not too small, too specific. So here's an example for you. Let's say we want to target people who make shoes. Okay, well, that's a lot of people. That's a lot of businesses that make shoes. So maybe you make that a little bit more specific. Okay, we're going to go after businesses who make women's shoes. Okay, yeah, there's definitely a fewer, smaller group subset of those. Is that still too big, too small? Well, let's see what the next level down would be. Okay, so we're going to sell shoes. We're going to work with people who sell shoes, women's shoes, and we're only going to work with brands who sell black shoes. You know, everyone likes a good pump. So is that now too specific? Is there something so specific about that it's going to really limit the audience that we're going to be able to talk to? Yeah, a little bit. So let's take it down a step further. We're deciding we're going to work with businesses that sell shoes, that are women's shoes, that are black shoes, and the only people who wear these shoes are vegans. So you can see there, very specific, a very small group of people that we're trying to reach. I mean, vegans who only wear black shoes, who wear women's black shoes only. That is a very small subset. That is too small. So you want to reach that right balance between having a wide enough market that you're able to make money in that niche versus you also want it to be small enough that you're not really limiting your client pool. All right, another thing that makes a good niche, you have to be able to help them. So there are a lot of businesses out there that need help, and there are some businesses out there that need help but won't accept help. So we want to work with businesses who are happy to have help, to accept help. That's why they're working with us, because they want to take that next step in their business. The third thing that we're looking for with a good niche is, can they pay you? Do they have enough money to pay you? Typically, when I think about the revenue size of a niche, for example, it is somewhere in the probably floor about 500,000, and that can go all the way up to 50 million or more. So obviously, if you get too big, those companies tend to have their own CFO in-house. So you want to hit that sweet spot between that 500, a million's a little bit better, but you can definitely find some businesses at $500,000 revenue that are able to pay for CFO services. So we want to put them through the smell test. Can they afford us? As much as we want to help people, we can't work for free. So, all right. The last thing I want to talk about is, how do you choose a niche? Because I'll tell you, I have run across so many people that get so hung up in choosing a niche that they don't choose one. And then they don't start their business. And I don't want that to be you. So here's the things that you can draw on to select a niche. It can be your work experience. Now keep in mind, I'm saying the things that you love and the things that you don't love. So let's say you worked with construction businesses and you didn't love it. Okay, well, that's a good piece of information. What you love is just as important as what you don't love. So you want to be able to work with businesses that you like doing business with. Maybe it is you have prior experience in manufacturing and you love that. You want to work with manufacturers. Totally cool. So you can draw from your work experience. You can also draw from your interests and passions. So I have worked with people who, one gentleman, for example, he loves coffee. And so he works with coffee shops. I have another woman the same way. She loves wine. She works with wineries and breweries. So you can go after what you're interested in, what your passion is. And when all else fails, at the end of the day, just pick one. A niche is something that can be changed pretty easily. It's not something that should trip you up and keep you from making progress in your business. Just pick one. There are some niches that are more difficult to service, and there are some that are a bit easier. So you're going to want to do some exploring to see which of those fits best in with what you're looking for, what you're interested in. Like I said, just pick one. It's not the end of the world. It's not something we can't undo, luckily for us. All right. Well, I think that's it. Let's go ahead and wrap it up for today. I've really enjoyed talking about niches and why I think they are so very important to our business. That saying, the riches are in the niches. That's a saying for a reason, because it really is true. Like, that is where the money's at. I know a lot of people don't like to hear it. I know it goes against what a lot of people believe, but hopefully throughout this conversation, I've helped you realize that there are a lot more benefits of having a niche than not having one. All right. So Be sure to, if you have any comments or questions, drop them into the comment section below. I'll get those answered for you. And if you are interested in learning more about CFO services, I have a challenge that's coming up. You can go ahead and click on that link that is in the description of this video, and it will tell you all about it. We talk about what CFO and advisory services are. We talk about how you can deliver them efficiently with a really cool tool. And we also talk about how to find and land clients. A lot of people get nervous about that part, and we break that down into a nice, easy path. So, all right. Like I said, if you have any questions, drop them in the comments. I'll get them answered for you. And we will see you next Tuesday at 1 o'clock Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific for another round of CFO and advisory chat. Thanks. Bye.